Okay, 29 minutes going past 4. This is Lagos Talks 91.3. It's been a fantastic time so far today. A cool day, I must say. So let's get into the business this evening. Like I did mention, we have someone who is professionally and, should I say, technocratically, adept when it comes to the area of human resource management. It is time for the office. Time for the office, and you also get to join the conversation at some point. 08092345913 is the hotline this evening, just in case you have questions along the line that you'd love to ask our guest this evening on the office. Of course, you know that the office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, that's CIPM, and of course, Lagos Talks 91.3. We have a guest this evening, and before I introduce our guest this evening, we will be talking about salary negotiation and what you should do as someone who is getting prepared for that sort of session. A lot of people are scared of that session when it comes to job hunting. How do I value myself? What do I say? Am I sure I won't be undervaluing myself by saying this? Will I be shooting myself in the foot by saying that? So this evening, for the next 30 minutes, we will be having clarity as far as that subject matter is concerned. This evening on the office, we have Lanre Aduloju joining us via Zoom this evening. Mr. Lanre, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, I can. Thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, it's been a pleasure. We've been chatting even before this period. It's been a pleasure knowing you. But let's now know you officially on air. Welcome to Lagos Talks 91.3, by the way. Of course, we'll be having this session for the next 29 minutes. Now, you should know that Mr. Lanre Aduloju is the lead consultant and strategy policy group, that's SPG, think tank, the Phoenix Learning and Developmental Academy. Now, also, he has quite a long profile, but I'll try as much as possible to summarize this. Lanre is a business management, strategy, and human resource consultant with 15 years plus experience. Now, he is a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, a fellow of the Public Policy Group think tank, and the current chair of the Strategy Policy Group, SPG, which has a major focus on profiling tailor-made strategic solutions for both private and government institutions focused on building the Nigeria and Africa of the future today. Now, he is seasoned. He's a seasoned facilitator of different programs from security intelligence gathering, an area of specialization, signal and open source intelligence. He's also into fundamentals of public policy, how to build a sustainable business, branding, data protection, sales and marketing, of course, HR, project management, digital marketing, leadership, data management, to name a few. Now, he provides personalized services covering career development, coaching, executive coaching, educational consulting, HR and management consulting, digital marketing, market research, and growth marketing. I have to just summarize that, but he is definitely seasoned as far as his career path is concerned. Mr. Lanre, good to have you again this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's my honor to actually be on the show.
All right, so this evening, like I mentioned earlier on, we will be talking about salaries, salary negotiation, and what people out there who intend to prepare or prep up for such sessions or such session, perhaps sooner or later, should be aware of going into such a delicate stage of recruitment. You're an HR professional. Give us an idea of what that stage is all about as far as recruitment is concerned.
Okay, so salary is one of the most interesting components when you're actually getting into the recruitment phase. It usually is the determinant factor for why we take most roles. it varies from levels to levels. For at a certain level in career, you would be looking at gathering experience, while at a certain other level in career, you'll be looking at actually what the salary is for the particular role you're looking at. Based on some of our statistics or our conversations on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, it talks about at certain levels of the pyramid, people basically have different needs. Need for shelter, need for security, for food, and salary basically covers those conversations for you. And I don't think there's anyone who, especially in Nigeria, where we sell the conversation of, oh, you need to start your career. Sometimes you have to actually work for free. And I see some of the faces of the people I talk to, and they say to me, so how will I transport myself to the office? How will I eat? And this is like a fundamental conversation that has to be had. So salary is very important in the conversation of moving from one role to another, one organization to another, or even in the aspect of promotion.
Interesting. Okay, so what would you say are the standard components of a salary? And talking about the components now, I would love you to also provide deeper explanation as to the components, but what exactly are the components of salary as a concept?
Okay, so the components actually vary from industry to industry and vary from organization to organization. I think when you talk about standards, the basic conversations that you would see in the components as prescribed by law, or the Nigerian law in our case, a labor law would be basic salary, housing, transportation, leave allowance, health benefits, pension, tax. And these are some of the components that most likely will be discussed or broken down in your salary scale. Some organizations go as far as adding some other components as car allowance, bonus schemes. They talk about some other welfare packages that attract. I think that the breakdown or the components of salary allows an organization to actually sell his or herself better to the prospecting clients or to people they are trying to actually poach or recruit into the organization. So it's the best form to attract talent, showing them how employer-oriented you are as an organization.
Okay, interesting. So when we talk about salaries, because of course I've been through that process, and I also have a few friends who are your colleagues in this industry, and then from time to time I try to talk to them about what's the best approach, and then they say most times agree on the net pay. Make sure it's not the gross pay. Agree on the net pay, and what I understand what the net pay is all about is the take home. It's what you take home after deductions, statutory deductions have been made on your salary. So do you mind giving clarity? What exactly is the gross pay and the net pay? What are the differences?
So gross basically talks about like this is added plus deductions, deductible. So your tax is added. If there's a health management insurance program, it's added to that conversation. So and when they actually are going to give you your offer letter or your salary breakdown, you would be able to see the gross, what's basically added together that gives you the gross pay. A lot of people make the mistake not to actually negotiate based on the net pay, because the net pay is what you take home. That's basically what enables you to take care of your personal conversations. The gross pay basically covers areas of pension, tax, and explains how much will be deducted from your salary, what the deductions would be like, how frequent they would be like, and basically what they will be used for. So at least you have a clear picture from the gross pay to see what it looks like. But the net pay talks about what's your own. It is solely for you and you alone.
Interesting. So what would you advise someone going into such a session as a negotiation session? What would you advise such a person to focus the conversation on?
So I think both angles are very important. I don't think that, I think at a particular level, when you are trying to actually get an employment letter, you need to also be careful at what you accept as gross, right? The honest truth is that not a lot of organizations respect the conversation of paying pensions when they're due. They say it in the letter, but they don't pay. And this is the reality that we're being faced with.
Is there no enforcement sort of to, I mean, cut these excesses? I mean, why would they just do that? And then it seems like it's becoming a norm in industries.
So yes, the Pension Commission, PENCOM, one of its major responsibilities is to actually fact check, or should I say, create like a background check. They're available for you to report or press your case in case your organization hasn't paid your pension. Also, the same thing for tax, right? Because at the end of the day, you've been working for, if you've stated that you've been working for an amount of time, and then they actually check that you've been working. The government wants to know that you've been paying your tax also. And the only way you can do that is to try and make sure you check with your finance department to make sure that your tax have also been paid on your behalf to the government agencies. Right. So
okay, interesting. So you've talked about what to focus on, and you're saying that the focus should be balanced. Both you should know what's coming in at the gross scale and at the net scale. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about something right now. Can or should your previous salary affect the negotiation process? You know, of course, most people are jumping from job to job right now, and most of the time the motivation is perhaps they want to grow more, but more importantly, they want a better remuneration, they want better pay. But should your previous pay affect the negotiation process?
This you can look at from two major angles. So first angle, let's look at it from the employer's angle. That's the organization's angle. I think every organization basically has a strategy of trying to save costs, right? So they want to hire the best talents and pay pretty decent money to actually save or save revenue or save costs. If you look at it. So, and that's one way of looking at it. So yes, sometimes it's important to the organization or the employer or recruiter when they're discussing in the negotiation process. But for the employer, that basically maybe what you've been earning doesn't actually directly represent the levels and skills of competence that you have gathered over the period that you've been at that job. So I might have started that job as a senior manager, and I might have gathered the experience of an associate director before, you understand, I'm trying to apply for my next job. My current salary says that I currently occupy the grade level of a senior manager in my organization, but my competencies and skills say that I am ready for the role of an associate director.
Okay.
So I think there must also be a balance for the recruiters not to only be robots in terms of recruiting, but to be able to also dig deep to understand the career journey and the career journey patterns of some of the delegates or candidates that they're trying to recruit. So I think it would be smart for you not to also shoot the organization in the foot by sticking to a budget or trying to save costs, and also be able to be smart to actually divulge information from the prospecting candidate's experience. So yes, it's important to the organization, but I think everybody wants to move to a better job that pays better, right? So I don't think that the idea should be a matching conversation. And I'm not to actually throw a lot of knocks on recruiters. I think recruiters also have to do better in that conversation of understanding that it is better to have a well-motivated staff, new staff into the organization, than for you to have a demotivated staff coming into the organization because of you trying to save costs for the organization. I think at every point in time, every organization has a recruitment budget, and that budget must fit into line with the competencies that you're trying to recruit for.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions very soon. One, definitely perhaps to put you on the spot as someone who is in the area of recruitment. You're a consultant, I must say. First question now. By the way, you're listening to Lagos Talks 91.3. This is The Office, and we have Mr. Lanre Aduloju with us. He is a lead consultant, Strategy Policy Group, SBG, think tank, the Phoenix Learning and Developmental Academy. Mr. Lanre, from your own valuation, you're a consultant, so you have a clearer picture of what the situation is right now. In Nigeria, do you think recruiters are strictly adhering and nothing else, adhering to their budget? Or if we cannot collect this amount, we're not considering this person because we cannot do more than we cannot bite more than we can chew. So do you think that's becoming the norm in most organizations where they are strictly sticking to their budget for that role?
Okay, so this conversation, basically, I have tried to discuss with a couple of my colleagues in the past. And one of the major issues and flaws in recruitment is recruiters not understanding the business process of particular departments in the organization. So they're used to having stereotypical roles, basically just that concerns only recruitment. If you go further sometimes to ask some of the recruiters, do you understand the business importance of that role you're recruiting for? And they might have a challenge to actually explain how important that role is to the bottom line of the organization. So with that said, that's another angle. So I think recruiters need to do more assignments. I know that they have a lot of targets to catch up to. So sometimes when the role drops, you have maybe 15 to 20 roles to fill, and every line manager is pressing on your neck to deliver. I think basically that's where the recruiters have to actually, you must understand the business. I think, first of all, understanding the business and the business process gives you a clear mindset to actually understand the industry standard of the role you are recruiting for. For example, if you're going to recruit like a senior business developer, maybe a front-end developer, you must try and find out what they pay front-end developers in the industry and ask yourself the question, would our organization be able to attract that level of front-end developer you're trying to get in the organization for the pay and the budget that has been declared? You can also argue your case back to the management and say, I've done my research. I don't think this role or this salary actually fits into the competencies we're trying to look out for. I think this is the right, because that's your job, basically. I think that understanding the process policy of every role is as equally important as actually you executing that role also. Yeah.
Okay, so my second question now is an applicant obliged to disclosing the amount he or she was earning from the company is coming from? So if you're asking me now, if I'm applying for a job in your company, am I obliged to give you that information, or are there other ways I could circumnavigate or maneuver through that question?
Okay, so currently we are at an age where data protection laws are high on our radar. So organizations basically must also be ready to comply to data protection laws. So it is not right for a candidate to actually provide their past information, especially where it has to do with personal information like salaries, pension, and all those conversations at the interview level. Although you as a recruiter can play within a range scheme, right? You can ask them to provide their salary conversations within an existing range. I know certain organizations ask candidates to fill a data protection or policy when they're actually going into recruitment that covers them in that conversation. So once you sign it, that means you agree that your information can be shared, and that information would not be shared with external parties and so forth. But I think that it's a very gray area. We don't have clear conversations around that as a country yet. I know that the Nigerian data protection regulation speaks to certain aspects of that, but I know as recruiters, we must also be careful to also read the data protection regulation because a lot of us fault that regulation a lot. We're releasing people's information, sometimes going as far as discussing our interview conversations with friends, family, other members of staff in the organization. This goes against everything that the Nigerian data protection regulation speaks against. And this definitely dovetails into the recruitment policy.
Okay, so we have limited time right now. Time is ticking fast. Let's do this in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Okay, so quickly, tips in say 30 seconds, tips on how or what one should do when negotiating salaries.
Research. Do your research about the industry standard, what the current pay is and within the industry as a candidate. Don't undersell yourself. Don't oversell yourself. Overselling yourself sometimes, the name of the game is the game of competence, right? You must be aware about your competencies and how your competencies match the organization, right, where you're going into. Do your research basically, because you must find out whether the organization has the funds to actually pay you. And so you basically don't expect being paid billions when you know the organization is still dealing in millions. So that's some of the realities that we have to deal with. And organizations, the same thing, right? Don't oversell yourself. Your reality is your reality. You need to basically, as an organization, start small if you're small, and then grow big. It is better to grow with a workforce, train them, retrain people, build them, and grow with them and motivate them as they evolve, and to actually try to poach a more competent hand from other organizations. I know poaching seems to be like an easier format to actually do, but it's a very dangerous game to play, because then the concept of loyalty most times is absent. Within the game of competency and recruitment, the highest paying organization is the person that the candidates are most loyal to. If another organization comes and pays more, most likely sometimes they jump ship. As organizations, you should also understand that people must be able to leave your organization. There is no sin that when they're leaving your organization to go to another place, you must see them as ambassadors and sell the conversation as them being ambassadors. As candidates, don't insult or throw shades at your past organizations when you're trying to get into a new role. You must understand that connecting bridges are more important than burning existing and past ones.
Okay, I like the fact that you've been able to give us pitfalls also that we should look out for when negotiating salaries. I know we've done gross salary and then net salary. Well, what do you think a net? What do you think a net or total package or total remuneration is all about?
Okay, so that comprises of so in certain organizations, for example, you're joining a startup, and then they tell you, oh, this is your salary, these are bonuses that are attached to the role, these are commissions if you make a particular type of sale, X, Y, Z. So the conversations around commissions, bonuses are basically added to the overall conversation of gross, right? So you can basically see what your bonuses would be if you actually meet your target. So is it 10%, is it 15% on sales? What's the commission? Those conversations are basically your total remuneration when you talk about a total package.
Okay, so let's talk about a case where you talked about overvaluing and undervaluing yourself. In a case where you know for sure that you're being offered something lower than maybe number one, industry standard, and a low valuation generally of what the value you're bringing to the table. As an applicant, how do you tackle such a situation? You know that this amount or this package is below your expectation. It's a low salary. What do you do at that point in time?
So first of all, you know yourself, you know your current situation, you know what the reality of your pocket is saying, right? If you do need the funds, and sometimes there is a conversation of people falling back into recruitment or taking lower paying jobs because they're trying to balance their home front, right? If that's your reality, that's fine, right? But I also do not want people to go and accept roles that are lower than what they expect or their competencies, because that automatically is a pitfall for the motivation in the workforce, right? And that can have a cascading effect into poor performance, into you not putting your best into the organization. And it's okay when you take the first 4 or 5 months salary, or when you see that the funds don't actually match up to your own personal upkeep, and then it starts to become challenging for you to focus on the job. So I guess you should reconsider. I think being patient and identifying possible options for new roles sometimes is better than taking a role that you know you wouldn't be satisfied with. Yeah.
So you're saying sometimes it's okay to compromise and maybe accept the low offer and hope that you're able to wade through that situation. Is that what you're trying to say? That sometimes you could compromise?
Yes, so we're human beings, basically. I think after the lockdown, a lot of people compromised on salaries. Companies slashed pay, asked people if they wanted to leave. Some people left, some people stayed, some people took lower pay. The lower pay, basically, for some organizations have not been upgraded back, right? The people are still working in that role, even though they understand that their competencies and skills are supposed to actually be matched with a higher pay. So this is reality. It is the theory of real and ideal. In an ideal situation, your competencies will be matched with the realistic pay for your role. But currently, based on the reality, like for example, after the pandemic, I don't think a lot of us had that opportunity or the chance, except you maybe evolved in terms of your competencies and skills with the new skills of the day to actually get paid or double roles, whatever, in that case, right?
Okay. So, you spoke about research being quite pivotal when preparing for a negotiation. What particular exercises should be carried out in order to, be abreast of information regarding payment when preparing for such a session? Did you ask people who work there? Do you go on social media? How do you go about the research?
So Nigeria is actually a country that we have a very communal living environment where everyone knows someone that works in every organization, that kind of conversation. So I think one of the most pivotal things you need to do when it comes to research is asking questions, right? I know we also spoke about, I just remembered one pitfall again, and I might likely just quickly throw it in there. Do not rush to sign contracts out of passion. You must actually carefully look at your offer letter and your salary breakdown. If possible, share it with a lawyer to actually, or someone that's more experienced than you, to actually give you more information according to the terminologies and the concepts that are listed there. Because organizations also are very smart in terms of actually trying to hide those conversations. But research still is a very important. Ask questions, research the organization, find out on social media, discuss with people that are there. I used to use Nairaland in the past as a platform to actually find,
Okay.
But yes, so
all right.
social media.
All right. Okay, so let's go on this quick break. And when we come back, you tell us your last words before we wrap things up. This is Lagos Talks 91.3.
The Chartered Institute of Personal Management of Nigeria, CIPM, will promote excellence and regulate the ecosystem for people management to deliver value for sustainable growth of individual organizations and nations. As the apex regulatory body for the practice of human resource management in Nigeria, we ensure continuous development and maintenance of professional competence of our over 12,000 members across the public and private sectors of the Nigerian economy. We'll help you drive through human resource challenges in the workplace by providing tools, resources, and solutions that align with best practices. Become a professional and develop your competencies as a professional. Join us today. Visit www.cipmnigeria.org to get started. We deliver value through people.
Okay, welcome back. This is the office here on Lagos Talks 91.3. We're about to wrap things up with Mr. Lanre Aduloju. Mr. Lanre, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please give us tips, last words before we wrap things up. We have barely 30 seconds for this.
Okay, so I'll just drop these last words. You also cannot expect a salary that doesn't match your competence reality. Right, that's very important for us to notice. We do that a lot in Nigeria, trying to get results from not doing the work. Right, one of the ways to actually get paid is to actually get more skill. Right, so if you get more skill, you'll be able to negotiate for better pay.
Okay, all right, Mr. Lanre, thank you so much for stopping by. Mr. Lanre is, in fact, a seasoned consultant. Is a lead consultant, Strategy and Policy Group, SPG, think tank, the Phoenix Learning and Developmental Academy. Thank you so much for stopping by. Of course, you know that the office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and of course, Lagos Talks 91.3. Once again, Mr. Lanre, thank you so much for stopping by, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right, this is Lagos Talks 91.3. This is the live drive. My name is Kola Wale, and we're done with the office. In a short while, I'll be back to announce something, but of course, brace up for critical thinking coming on the flip side of 5. This is Lagos Talks 91.3.